Hey everybody, it's me, SARA WISEMAN. Today we're talking about, are you overly reliant on oracles? Learn how to break your reliance on card decks as your way of connecting to the universe. And again, I said this a couple times, a couple of videos ago, I expect that this will bring up huge amounts of resistance from all of you guys that love your decks. So I'm not against decks. I am just mentioning the idea that when we're using decks too much, if you're using decks as your main source of information, it can be really easy to become highly confused by your decks and to have so much information coming in that it doesn't make sense. So when we're seeking clear direction, like if you're a reader or if you're reading for yourself, when we're seeking clear direction, the universe does its best job with humans at giving us one clear answer per question at a time. And as you continue to do, so say you're doing a third eye guided vision, you ask a question, you receive one clear answer as a symbol or archetype or memory or something that, boom, like you just get it. There's no questioning about what you received. And then you go do another question, same thing, one clear answer, however that comes. And then maybe you allow yourself to do three in a session, because three is about as much information as we can hold and make sense of. So you allow yourself to do three questions, three clear as a bell answers, sense of knowing. And this is where you stop. You stop. You don't add, okay, I think I got this, but I'm not quite sure, so I'm just going to pull a card for this. Or I'm just not quite sure, so I'm going to pull a spread for this. Or I'm going to go and get some online guidance on an online deck. Or I'm going to do my pendulum to this question. When the answers come in so clearly and so specific, what the bigger thing is to be called is to trust what you received, to absolutely trust it. Now, if you want to go do a card reading separate from at a different time, give yourself a breather. You take that very, very complete information that came in, you allow it to work through you, you ponder it, you consider it. And then if you want to do your card practice, your deck practice, some other time of the day, great, do that. But don't sort of muddy the waters by allowing too much information to come in from two different systems. And the reason is everything that comes into third eye is so fast and fleeting and symbolic, and it comes from not like the card deck's artist's interpretation of a symbol of what something might mean, but it comes from your own sort of spiritual database of all of your own and all of collective consciousness, symbols, archetypes, your own bank of memories, your own bank of emotions, and what those mean to you. And so you want to go with that information first. It's the most powerful. When you're using a deck or a pendulum or crystals, you are sort of using someone else's interpretation as your languaging. A little bit less with pendulum, I suppose, but in fact, let's take pendulum out of those. But when you're using cards, that artist, that author created that using the symbolism that they understood. But when we're doing visioning, we're working with the symbolism that is inherent and personal and specific and unique to each of us. And that's going to be a better source of information for you. It's not that the cards are incorrect, it's just that there's a layer of interpretation between you and the answer that comes from that somebody else created. Now, there are people who have worked with the card so much, this doesn't apply to them. I would think that this is a very small number, a very small percentage of practitioners, people that are at the highest level of understanding cards, the symbols that are used. They've been doing it a really long time. They're professionals, most likely. And that language is something that they understand completely. So for those people, none of this applies. That language works for them. They know how to use it. They're beyond fluent. They're expert in that particular language. And you'll probably find that most of those folks use, they just have like one or maybe two deck systems that they use. Like those are the languages that make sense to them. And I would say a lot of those people have past lives where they're working with those same decks before, or they just have this deep affiliation. But for lots of us, that's not the case. We look at the deck and we're like, okay, I'm going to study this. I'm going to crack the code. And it's great. It's great to study things. But how much easier it would be if you just went into your own personal collective, your personal library attached to collective consciousness and got your personal understanding of how things were from there. The other reason is sometimes there's this tendency to like, I'm just going to pull a card for the day. It's great, but it would be better if you, and it's also harder if you took the time and said, I'm going to meditate for a few minutes using, the rose technique or working with your guides or asking just to have symbols or visions. I'm going to take a few minutes and I'm going to meditate and ask the universe, show me what's going on today. That would be a better source of information for everybody, except for that small group of people that are so excellent at cards, to work with. It's harder. It's harder because you have to pause, you have to participate, you have to sort of not maybe understand what you're seeing at first or what it means. So sometimes doing that, and it's different than you're not like, I meditate in the morning, I go into stillness, I relax. This is like, universe, show me what I need to know for today, and then you go into that space and you get your message. So it's more subtle, it's more hazy, it takes more effort, and also it provides you with a much more personal answer that will help you understand. Now, again, I'm not anti-cards. I'm just anti-over-reliance on cards or using cards as a way of determining your own spiritual symbolic language rather than learning how to decipher what goes on in your own personal receiving. Finally, a lot of cards, as we've been talking, it just pains me like this is how it is, but a lot of cards are very commercialized, and so you get these beautiful, lovely illustrated or photo or whatever decks. They're fantastically beautiful, and the spiritual meaning does not really correspond to any system of symbolism or any system of information that the universe is going to be using for you. Like say you got, I'm just making this one up, but say you got funny cats oracle deck, or you got witches of the forest oracle deck. And chances are good that if you were to meditate with the guides, or you were to meditate with some of these systems that we use, none of those images would ever enter your third eye or come to you as a message from the universe ever, because it's not the language that you're here to work with. So you love how it looks, so you collect things, great. Really stick with what is real, and what is real is what the language is that you already understand inherently in your own self. All right, I'm SARA WISEMAN, and we will be back with more later. Thanks for listening. I'm at sarawiseman.com.